Officially Finner with your hosts, Robin and Rudy, a podcast about family where we live, love, and laugh along the way.
Hello, and welcome to the Officially Finner podcast. We are entering a new season.
New season.
And we have a new series.
New series.
Our series, right, we came up with is called It's a Wonderful Life. And it kind of builds on things we've talked about in the past and reflects on decisions that people have made about where they live, why they moved there, pros and cons, and more. And that's what we're talking about in this first season. There'll be some other series, I should say, some other series that will be included as well. But we're starting with that because we talked about our move, our being born in Washington, D.C., except for you were born in Philadelphia.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's like an outlier kind of thing you just threw in there. I'm not an outlier.
You were born in Philly. Okay. And we moved to Maryland when we got married. Now we live in Ashburn, Virginia, and kind of how we got there. But we thought it was really interesting because, you know, there are about 10% of Americans who move every year. And there were a lot of things we saw about moving and thought that might be a really interesting topic to explore. Before I jump into all that, though.
Okay, so look. Let me just do this real quick. So you said it's a wonderful life. The reality of it is because of our age, there's an age chasm. And I know that there are people on here that have no idea what It's a Wonderful Life is. It's a Wonderful Life is a Christmas movie. If you aren't into Christmas traditions, get into Christmas traditions. I'm just telling you, I encourage it because you'll love it. Just trust me on that, everybody. One of our Christmas traditions is Christmas movies. A Christmas movie is called It's a Wonderful Life. And the short version of A Wonderful Life, a synopsis, if you will, it's a story where somebody just recaps their life and they understand and immediately begin to follow and understand the value of their presence. And it's very encouraging. What they don't have the time to do because it's just a movie is to really drill down in those what seems to be seemingly benign decisions and choices that people make that have a profound, incredible effect on lives, plural, not just a single life, but multiple lives. And that's what we started to think about, transitioning from a city life, Robin and I, to a more, we laugh and call it country. We say suburban because that's a better way of saying country, but converting to that. But what we have had the pleasure of experiencing through our kids is understanding the impact to them, which we did not understand at all at the time. And so this gives us a chance to expand on it because there are so many people making these transitions and so many people making choices and decisions that are going to have profound impact that you just can't see until you have the joy of looking back as we do 20, 30 years later saying, oh my gosh. So there you have it.
Great. Thank you for explaining that
You're
to
quite welcome.
everyone. I'm sure that, you know.
That's an old people to young people's translation. I hope y'all received that.
That was great. Okay, so before we jump in, just want to say hi to everybody who's listening to us, hi to all of our folks in North America, and I think I started to say before that about a third of our listeners are over in Europe.
Straight tripping, Holmes. Straight tripping.
So we are so excited to have you on board.
Clearly, I have a German flair. That's so cool.
Yeah, I'm calling it, well, whatever you want to call it. It's Europe, and we're excited to have all of you.
We absolutely love that because these are international issues. They really are. It's not limited to Ashburn.
Right.
Virginia, USA, the contiguous United States, the international community is moving.
Yes.
And we're all doing the same things. And we're all, when it boils down to it, families trying to do the best that we can.
Exactly. Yeah.
Come on now.
So as we get started, please give us a like and a thumbs up, share with your friends, and hope you enjoy what we're going to talk about today. So,
nice.
As I was saying, we talked earlier about our journey living throughout the DMV, as we call it. That's Washington, Maryland, and Virginia. And we wanted to explore some other perspectives. So today we have guests with us. We're really excited because it's even though these two are our kids, sometimes it's not always, you know, it's a little more challenging, shall we say, to get your kids to, you know, do things with you sometimes than others. But these two are just amazing.
Special guest.
Yes, you've heard of us refer to David and Kelly, who, you know, they live with us with their kids, and we have this multi-generational household, and we are very excited to have them to join us here at the table today to talk about kind of what their experiences have been in relation to moving and living in this area. So
Well, let me just jump in because you made an interesting point because, we always ask the question why we do what we do. So why do we bring them on? The first thing is I've had enough experiences in my life and I've kind of just driven Robin crazy with this. Mm-hmm. I have found tremendous value in the people around us. Unfortunately, many experiences in my life and I've watched other families not really understand the jewels and the treasures that live right with them. So we've really come to understand the talent in these guys. That's a good thing and a bad thing because in some ways we drive them crazy because I'm coming to them first with everything. A lot of people say, don't work with your family. I'm like, I'm going to work with my family first because I know them, I know their talents, and I respect them enough to respectfully work. But also, as we talked about It's a Wonderful Life and we talked about this journey, the realization that, and we've had this in casual conversations, there are things that our children experienced when we made this move that we did not, and at times we still do not have a clue. We had no idea. We were looking at the perspective from one place, but theirs was a completely different thing. And Kelly was a perfect person to kick this whole series off with because Kelly and David have both moved at least from neighborhood to neighborhood with their parents. And I feel comfortable saying from my perspective, and I'm going to be comfortable saying the same thing with David's parents' perspectives, we didn't really understand the impact that it would have on our children. Our zeal to make their lives as good as possible was what drove the decision. But we didn't really think about some of the things that I've heard these guys refer to, like, oh, snap, I didn't think about that. Mm-hmm. So that's the beauty of having these guys in here right out of the gate to help put it in perspective because my perspective is, Dad, I moved, I took the job, I made more money, the house got nicer, this got this, but it's like, well, there's a whole lot of ramifications to that. There's a lot that went on beyond those high level things.
Yeah, exactly. So, so we want to let them tell us a little bit about their thoughts on this because it was very interesting to talk about. And we were saying earlier today how you just sometimes as parents you go through everything you have to do, and then you miss some of those details. And so today we get a chance to look back on it, and we're going to start by asking Kelly. So, Kelly, you were about 5 or 6 years old when we moved to Ashburn. We were living in Silver Spring, Maryland, which isn't too far away, but it definitely was a different kind of community. And do you remember much about living there and moving here?
Yeah, I remember. Funny, I'm surprised I actually do, but I remember. I remember not wanting to move. I remember.
Well, why not? Why not?
I was attached. I mean, you're like 5, 6. You're attached to everything.
Okay.
You know, it's like you're just your friends, your class, your teacher. You love everything. You've been. That's all you know. So you don't want to move.
Yeah.
And your way is just your way. It's like even if you're little, you just have a way. The friends know how you are.
So at 5 or 6, you had already created your little community, and you had a little space that you were fitting in.
Emotionally.
Okay.
These were not friends I was getting on the phone with. These are just you're just attached, like you are to your Barbies. It's kind of like that. And so I remember I was counting down for show and tell for like a week.
Wow.
Or every day. I was like, this is I move in 3 days. I move in 2 days. I move in 1 day.
Really?
Yeah, it was every day.
This is the first time I've ever heard this.
It was a countdown. They're like, okay, here she goes again. She's moving. We already told us. I'm like, this is my last day. I want to go. Wow. Yeah. I did not want to move. But, and I knew, I think when you're 5 or 6, you don't have the concept of a new house, new room, new place, like new. You don't understand new. You don't care. You're just attached to what you know, and that's all that matters.
Yep.
And so, and I remember, if anything, I was excited because I think we missed the last day of school.
You did. Yeah.
And I was happy about that. I was like, yes, we get out of school early. It was like we start summer early. Yes. So it's like different fragments. It's not so much like at that age, you're not looking at the big picture. You're looking at the small little, that sucks, but here are the benefits. The benefit is we get to get out of school early.
Yeah.
You're not understanding, because you're moving, not because you get to play around.
Everything.
No, really.
Getting out of school early, so it's okay.
Yeah, like you guys get to sit here and learn more. I get to get out of school early. That's kind of, and on the other end, that helped to not make it too sad was that I got to leave early. And they all had to stay in school. Wow. I think that's what I remember most distinctively about moving, like before we moved. And then, I guess that would be a different part of this conversation. And then getting here was like on the other side. It's like, that was exciting.
Yeah.
But interesting, because it was the first time not having anybody around you and being in a completely new situation. But also exciting because we had new, fresh rooms. Like, I don't know, a new house.
Okay.
The idea, the way it was cut was completely different. Everything was, again, just new.
Huh.
Yeah.
So that was exciting, but that was about as far as it went. You know what I'm saying? Everything else was like, okay, here we go.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I did not want to go.
Aw. Yeah.
I was 5 or 6. It's not an adult mind.
It's
but
okay.
yeah, it was
It's okay.
definitely.
But still, it's a
David,
valid,
definitely-
it's a valid opinion. Go
So
ahead.
David, the same question to you, because I don't know your moving and transition life like I know hers. How did, if yours was at all similar, how tell me the story.
So being born in Manassas, I lived in a few different neighborhoods.
Okay.
Same jurisdiction, but just different neighborhoods.
How was the transition when you did move? The best you can remember.
Because I was so young, I was probably a baby the first place that my folks lived, because they lived in a place with my aunt, her husband at the time, and then they moved like around the corner, same neighborhood. Then they moved from there to another neighborhood.
Okay.
And each time for them was a better place, better situation.
Okay.
And so the last move was to move from Manassas to Bristow, which was, it's only 5 miles, but at the time the development was just at the ground stages.
Right.
Yeah.
So you still had to come to Manassas to go to the grocery store, because there was no shopping centers out there. And I had only known the Manassas area. So friends that I grew up with, went to school with, like nobody was going to be there.
How old were you when you moved to Bristow?
I was when I moved, it was I had just finished 6th grade, so it was 7th grade.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was definitely aware of what's going on, and definitely
Yeah, it's kind of
attached.
critical time.
You had more relationships
Yes.
at your
Elementary
age
to
than
middle.
Kelly would.
Yes.
You're in that space, in that zone.
Right.
Interesting.
So you're talking about kids that I've known. Some of them I knew, pretty much my whole life, and then going and just leaving.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, well, you'll be fine. And, being an only child, I don't have any siblings to share this with. So it's just me. And it's like on the bus, everybody's new. I don't know anyone. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know. I don't know anything. So it was a different experience.
That's a wait, that's a faith journey if you ever seen one.
I mean,
'Cause
like,
you don't know Jack. You're
I
right.
don't know anything.
Wow.
I don't even, we went to the school. I think we went like one time to find out where it is, and then you kind of do like the orientation. And at that time, the school that I went to was from 6th to 12th grade, because that's how the area was. There was an elementary school, but it stopped at 5th. There wasn't a middle school.
Right.
So that was kind of a crazy thing too, because you got these tiny little kids, and then you got
almost
these,
grown up.
and you got
With
these
adults,
seniors.
yes. Yes, yeah.
So it was nothing for you to see somebody get put on top of a trash can. Like, it was just
No
normal.
joke. It's a normal day.
Normal.
That's why they don't do that.
Yeah, that's why.
Because it's not a good mix.
It shouldn't have never happened. But yeah, so it was an adjustment for me, and it took a while for me to like kind of get assimilated to what was going on out there. It was different challenges that were presented and less challenges in some areas. So
Tell us a little bit about the challenges.
Well, where I was coming from was multicultural. If you're struggling, it was white, black, Hispanic. It didn't matter. We were all in the same pool. And so going out there wasn't a lot of people of color there. And so that was my first thing that I saw. And I had no preference, because I was used to having everyone around.
Yeah, you were raised in the UN.
Yeah.
So when you're raised in the UN,
it's
just like everybody's
I was
cool.
used to it, right. So I was used to that, and then getting out there, and it wasn't that I wasn't received well. It was just a different environment.
Right.
And so you're going from a place where you're going to have a multicultural classroom setting, and then having like one person of color in the class.
Yeah, people struggle, and this is a good thing just to know. People struggle with this, but until you've been to a place where nobody looks like you don't really understand this conversation. I encourage everybody, every white guy needs to go to Africa. Every black guy needs to experience you need to experience these environments where you're not, because then you have a valid opinion.
Sure.
Until then, I was raised in a totally 98% black community.
Right.
I did not know diddly until I was dropped off in a place where like, hey, wait a minute.
Right.
What's that music? I've never heard that played before. And just what that shirt looks different from the shirts I'm used to seeing. It seems small, but even humor, what we're laughing at, what we're entertained by, those are heavy impact things culturally.
Yep, it was different. And,
Yeah.
And so that had a huge impact on me.
Sure.
Even down to like sense of humor, things like that.
Yes.
I was armed and ready to fight everybody, like for no reason. I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
That's just like a natural response. And it took time for me to kind of understand, but it's like I don't have some of the issues that I had with, you know, talking about your clothes. People didn't care about that, you know. So if you had hand-me-downs, which I wore all the time, you know, they were the clothes that I wanted that my parents couldn't afford.
Yeah.
So I have, you know, they're already broken in as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Soft in the wash.
Yeah,
So
these are good to go now. Thanks.
Yeah.
And so when I went out there, I was like, oh, I don't have to deal with these things. And there was a little less, you know, I guess the crabs in the barrel mentality, you know, you think you're better than me because of XYZ. There was really none of that.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm like, but we're all like, I live down the street from you. So out here, I didn't have to deal with those things. And it was more, I had more time to focus on just school and not so much like social status as much as I did, which is ironic, as much as I did living where we previously did.
in the other neighborhood. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
I would have thought if I just thought about the situation, it would have been almost the reverse.
I think sometimes we can be judgmental, you know, and it's like if you do have on something that's decent, it don't matter if it's from Burlington or Marshall's, right? But it's like, oh, now you think you all that, and it's like I never said that. Yesterday you were laughing at my hand-me-downs. Now I got a new shirt on. And now I think I'm better than everybody. I don't know what I'm supposed to do here.
Yeah.
And again, being an only child, I didn't have like an older brother and saying like, okay, this is how this is going to go.
Right.
You know, and both of my parents, they came from not a whole lot and learned how to adapt and make it through and to be successful. So they understood that aspect of it. But like, you know, when you're a kid, you want to hear from a kid, not necessarily your parents. Exactly. But I didn't have that. Yeah. So it was just like, okay, I guess this is what it's like then. And when I got out there, it was different. I didn't have that. I didn't have any of that. Yeah. So it's like, oh, I can just kind of be a kid at school then.
So this is interesting. I'm sorry, I don't want to throw a curve in your question, so get right back if you need to. What I'm curious about, as y'all are talking, my mind goes to how does your descriptions and your experiences in those transitions affect, if at all, and it's okay, not judgmental, your thought process on moving and changing things with your children now?
It's complicated because I think, well, it's such a different world than when we were little. And like what you have to be basically aware of at 5 or 6 now is different from what we had to be aware of at 5 or 6 when we were little. Like, so now I had to start teaching Mario about color when she was like 4.
You mean race?
Race. I said color. I mean race. Yeah. But like, I had to really start educating her on like, it's in a toddler sort of sense, what's going on, what's the differences, and what kind of hair you have or what they have, and and so then when it comes to moving or what you're gonna do, what you're gonna deal with when we move, if we were to move, I have to realize that a lot of stuff that was going on when we were kids is still going on, if anything worse, because of tech and social media and all this other weird stuff. And then I think the complication is, and you try not to, but as a millennial adult, you have your triggers and all these things. You're like, dang, like all this stuff happened to me and when I was a kid. And so now all you're trying to do is keep the same things from happening to your kids. And every generation has their own version of that. Right. But now that I'm an adult and I'm still so aware of what happened to me as a kid, it's like, okay, how do I, if we're going to make a change like moving or something, how do I find out the environment we're moving to? How do I know what the school she's going to go? I want to know everything before we decide to even like commit to that idea before we get there or do anything like that. Because even just in this county. Literally from
Loudoun County.
Yeah, just Loudoun County alone, from one like this area, maybe down 20 minutes south, Loudoun County, completely different environments, in my opinion. And so, in a good way, you kind of find out, okay, so that's what she'd be going. That'd be kind of dope. But I have to know still. I have to know the neighborhoods. I have to know this. I have to know everything about as many details as I possibly find out.
That's outstanding. I'm sorry what you said, because Robin earlier said we moved at the very beginning of the podcast. She referenced moving. We just moved around in the DMV. The culture of community
totally different.
is stunning.
Totally different.
Sometimes just 1 mile.
It's not the same state.
Yeah.
It's not the same state.
My
Completely
gosh.
different.
Yeah. So I just wanted to dovetail off of that, because that was really good. David, same thought, same line of thing with you.
I agree 100%. I think we differ on ripping the Band-Aid off approach.
Oh yeah.
because of my experience, and then I didn't have anyone to necessarily like guide me through that. You know, but both of my parents had siblings, and so whatever they did, they had each other, and so whatever we did, it was just me.
Right.
And so now the type of child that I grew up to be, I didn't have a problem making friends with people. So it didn't matter what the environment was. I was able to adapt with that. And so my thought is always on looking at that point of view. It's like, okay, yes, it's totally a new environment. She won't know anybody. You know, they won't know anyone. But the way that we're trying to teach them and the way that we're showing them is that you can still make new friends. Sometimes you need the new friends, but you can make the new friends. You can. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, no, funny you said that, because Marley is like him. She can go anywhere in any environment, even if she might not necessarily want to do it. She's like, walk in, not look back, and make like 5 friends that day. She's extremely adaptable.
We've actually seen that as
that.
grandparents.
So
We take her
weird.
places.
And I get jealous, and I'm
and
like,
she's
dang it,
gone.
I wish I could be like that. But I'm like, no.
Yeah.
That's how she is, though. She's just like that. But then she'll have her things. Don't get me wrong. Every kid has their thing that they didn't like or whatever, but she's just like him.
She did that at that
It's
Little
sweet.
Mermaid premiere that
It's
we
so
went to.
sweet.
Right.
I
She
absolutely
was seeing with a
love
whole
that.
different family. Like, well, where are you going?
No,
Okay,
I'm the one that I
you're
get behind. I'm like,
three
no,
rows
Marley,
ahead
you
of us.
go.
We can see what you're doing. But
No, yeah, I'm
she had
definitely
friends.
not. I'm the opposite of both of them. There.
But I also think like you can't. Some of the childhood trauma that we carry. There's only so much you can do to prevent those things happening. Some of it is natural. It's a natural course of action. You're gonna have people that are gonna bully. You're gonna have people that are gonna be bullied. You're gonna have friendly people. You have unfriendly people, right? And you're gonna have people that are hurting outside of school, and you might not be at an age to really identify that. And so you start thinking about that. You'll remember that you had friends. You had people that you went to school with that had a lot of suffering and stuff that was in their private life at home. Those are things that we can't keep them from. I don't care what school they're going to, private. I mean, unless it's homeschool. But like if they're mixing with people, you're going to have the chance of these things. So it's like, how do we instruct them, or how do we give them tools to make the best decisions when they're in those environments, and how to deal with that? Because again, that's the first time that it really happens is when they start going to school. Right? And then as they get older, they leave and go to school. So like, are you going to go with them, or you're going to try to equip them as best as possible?
Yeah, and I think, you said it, you got me thinking, I think historically, the way kids were raised, at least my perception, and many others, I think, was that you raised the children, you provided, and kind of that was it. We have progressed to a place of really understanding that we are raising, but when we're raising and we're providing, we're preparing.
Right.
And then the preparing is where this comes in.
Right.
Because you're right. We have been really fortunate to have a second chance. That's the beautiful part about living with your grandkids. You have a second chance at the stuff you screwed up with your children, in my opinion. And so I've seen places where we did not do things to help with discipline. We didn't and the discipline to stick to it with stuff. Right. We didn't do things at times to help our children understand you cannot go places and not have some bad people.
Sure.
You cannot go to a place where there are not going to be people that are so challenging, they make you want to just, but
that's normal.
You're trying to raise them to understand that is a way of life. Right. And there are solutions to it. There are ways to deal with it. And that's a more progressive way of raising kids, I think, than some of the old stuff that we used to deal with. I mean, at least my experience anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. So let me switch just a little bit and just ask the two of you, what do you think for each of you were the biggest, outside of going to school, cultural or lifestyle changes that you may have encountered, by living
well
in your new neighborhoods?
I mean, it was a culture change. It was black and white.
Yeah.
That is straightforward. It was black and white. Where we came from, it was, I think the majority of the class, I just remember a lot of black kids in my class. Like, it was like
Montgomery Knowles Elementary, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
A lot of black kids in my class. There were some white.
Mm-hmm.
There were trickles of other races, but not a lot. It was more black and white, but it was normal. Mm-hmm. Like, it's almost like each other knew how to just be around each other. Out here, it was completely white. Like, I think all my classes, all the way up in, I think, first grade was completely white. Second grade, I think, there was like always one other black person. Mm-hmm. And if you guys were going to get along, I don't know. But anyway, and I think the toughest part, but I didn't know this obviously at 6 years old. You're not able to articulate it, but the little things like, so for example, I remember in kindergarten, I was the double Dutch queen. And I did really well. I killed double Dutch. It was the best thing ever. I remember winning. It was like the coolest celebration ever. And here, that was the last time I ever did it. Was back there.
No double
I
Dutch.
never did it here.
Yeah.
No. And then I remember being conscious of my hair for the first time.
Yeah.
It was the first time it wasn't because I said, oh, my hair's not like theirs. It was just more like, but my hair doesn't, well, no, it was like that. I guess it was like my hair doesn't do what theirs does. Like when it's windy, it's embarrassing. That was the first time I'd ever been embarrassed by my hair, was being here. I never had to think about it. Black girls were everywhere. They did the same things I did. They had the same hair I did. So you never had to think about if you had little frays on your edges, if your hair looked like a little bit more humidified by the weather. It just was what it was. And I was cool. But out here, it was uncomfortable and embarrassing, but I didn't know. I felt it. I couldn't say it.
Yeah.
And so, and the funny thing, nobody said anything. I don't remember anybody saying anything to make me feel bad about my hair. I don't remember that at all.
You were just conscious and aware.
I just
of
remember
the
as a black kid, it didn't matter that no one said anything. It was just a matter of no, but it's different.
Can I tell you this is so creepy listening to you say this, because what you don't know is, as a child, this is something I dealt with all of my life, because I grew up in a 99% black environment, because my hair was curly and my fro fell.
Oh yeah, I remember you telling me that.
The stuff I got was exactly what you're saying, but you know what's crazy? Nobody ever said anything. It was always in my head.
Yeah.
I felt bad because my fro didn't look like my brother's fro. My brother's fro was tight, Ebony magazine cover fro, right?
Yeah.
That thing, he cut that when they made his lines stayed in place like they had orders and they wouldn't move. Mine was falling like a waterfall. And it just, I had the same, it's interesting. I'm listening to you like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I've ever heard you say that. Yeah. I had the exact same emotions. I hated my hair. I couldn't stand my hair, and it's so crazy because people hated me for my hair, and I hated my hair. I tried everything I could to make my hair kinky, coarse, tight. I'm listening to you like, oh my gosh, I didn't know.
People talk about your hair, and I know even as an adult,
I'm still dealing with it right now.
It's a black community.
It's also,
that's what I was gonna say.
It's wild.
I haven't been black enough yet.
No, it's more that than
I can hang out with Stokely Carmichael. I still wouldn't be black enough. Because my hair is curly.
Yeah. It's definitely more black community now that is I'll say this, it's more open to talking about it than it was back then, as far as our generation is concerned. But
it was held against you though.
I didn't know it is.
And yes, yes.
It still is.
And that's some of the things like I was saying as far as like the clothes and things like that. It was our people, it was black people that were doing that.
Yeah.
And I remember some of my friends that, or some people I went to school with that got bullied for some things, and it's like it wasn't anybody else but black people.
Yeah.
Yeah, David, I grew up in that environment. I 1000% know what you're talking about, because I got people, I can quote their names right now that be waiting for me at the school gate. They were waiting for me because they knew I was going to come in dressed from my father's closet, right? So they waited on me. And people understand my clothes obsession now, why I have too many pairs of shoes and I'm going to always have them, and I'm going to always have too many clothes, and I don't have no problem with it because that's my way of dealing with childhood trauma from Mr. Whitaker, I call him Mr. Whitaker. I ain't going to tell nobody what his first name is. They used to wait for me at the gate to come in and talk about my clothes all the way to my class.
Wow.
And everybody, no, it was a student.
Mr.
And he rode me all day. So when I dress right now, you daggone right. I'm going to probably look better than most of y'all. My clothes going to look different. My shoes going to look different. And people about every 3 days ask me, hey, where'd you get that? Where I got that? I got that because my daddy made me wear that stuff when I was 10 years old. That's why. And I still ain't recovered. And you know what? I ain't going to recover. I'm good. Thank you. Let's move on. But yeah, so it's an interesting thing with the hair. But I think that's a podcast we got to do at some point, because I'm telling you, this whole concept of crowns, man,
it's different.
It's so deep. And you know what's really the thing about it that's so misleading? We always talk about women, but the bald head money that we spend for men are worse than women. We spend billions of dollars trying to get hair back. So it's not just a women's problem. This is the thing that we're misled on. Oh, women care so much about their hair. Yeah, but dudes are spending $1 billion trying to find hair again instead of letting it go. So that's a whole nother podcast. But it's interesting that that's where you went with that.
Yeah.
And the emotion that surrounded that is pretty incredible.
Yeah, so it was definitely a lot of, and it's funny, back then again, it was small little things that now I can understand where some things were adaptable, eventually, and our whole street was white too. Everybody, I mean, literally everything we knew was white. Mm-hmm. But it was adaptable though. We got used to it. But at the same time, and again, different part of the conversation I'm not going to go into.
What do you think you lost in that? Because I know as parents, our family never stopped being a black family. We did all of the things that black families do. Sure. But the effect still occurred. You still could not escape the effect of the change in that environment. Well, so what do you think you lost? How did it affect you?
Well, I don't know if it was part loss and then part shock. It was really weird. Okay. Because again, so you're black people that moved from literally this completely diverse area to a completely not diverse area. And so then you're adapting to being around mostly all white people. And then you're adapting to this other group of black kids that are coming in that they're not like you. Yeah. And so, but you've had all this time to adapt to being around white people, that now you kind of sound like nobody knows where you're from, because you don't have a black accent, you don't have anything that identifies you. You know what I'm saying? And then black people that do still come in and they hear you where are you from? Why you sound like that? So what I lost, I don't know if I can say specifically what I lost. I don't want to say culture, because at home, we were, like you said, we were always.
Yeah, we still playing James Brown for Christmas.
But it was outside culture, though. It was connections to people and
all
things
the things that would, environmentally
exactly.
lost everything that you would do as a black kid. Wow. It was gone.
Day to day, right.
Completely gone. There was we did, stuff outside, but it was like kickball, but it wasn't like the stuff we would do at my grandma's house. Wow. It wasn't like that. Yeah.
And David, it sounds like yours was like a promotion. So you went from enslaved to free.
Yeah, it was definitely that. I would say there wasn't a loss after being there for a little bit. There wasn't a loss; it was actually a gain. And I think one of the things that I've gained was, recognizing the differences and still having an appreciation for both sides of that.
Yes.
Because I was able to I went to people's houses who had big, single family homes with basketball courts in their backyard, and I'm like, oh, this is different.
Yeah,
And then one of my good friends at the time, his parents had money, and so, but they came from the same place my folks came from. So going over there and seeing that, I'm like, okay, this is this is moving on up. We got George and Wheezy out here.
So that's truly what happens when we have the benefit of diversity. Right. And we begin to be exposed to things that we didn't know existed, and it's life-changing exposures.
Yep.
Yeah.
Some of those things have stuck with me. Just being multicultural, people say that they are, but being able to be with a group of people who look nothing like you and still be able to embrace that,
And that's
and also be embraced, genuinely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not tolerated.
Right.
And then going to a room full of people that look like you, but they're not you, and have a different mentality.
Yeah.
And being able to still communicate and be appreciated.
Right.
And so that's something that has kind of stuck with me. And again, I guess that goes back to, what you instill in your kids and trying to prepare them.
Yeah.
Right. Because that the method of preparation and the thought process behind that, as far as dealing with other people, that doesn't change. And that, as long as we're here and there's people here, you're going to have to put that to practice.
So is that something you feel like was strategically and consciously done by your parents, or just your experience, just happenstance?
I think the way that my parents are, and then again, the core values and things that they've, instilled in me,
Gotcha.
It helped me be open to that. I could have easily been bitter the whole time I was there.
Many are.
Without question.
Yeah,
Many are.
exactly.
But I would have missed some of the opportunities that I gained from that.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those things that if you allow that type of change, unwanted, if you allow that to stick and have a bad impression upon you, then you can miss out on some of the other things that can be beneficial. So.
Yeah.
No, I agree 1,000%.
Yeah. I think that kind of dovetailed into what I was going to ask about, how this has shaped, how your experience has shaped your outlook, and everything. Kelly, did you have anything that you would add to that, or is that kind of the way you feel as well?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Yeah, I guess just coming from me, it was easier to be around people that didn't look like me. I think it was definitely easier to be around them, and they were fine with me. I don't remember any racial undertones or things that were awkward or feel like I didn't belong or didn't include me just because I was Black. I don't remember any moment that felt like that or was confusing. Everybody was okay. And I felt comfortable.
Yeah.
For a while.
I remember one situation actually that came up that was, I felt like I really had to push back on. And that was when we were in Montgomery County. Courtney, your oldest sister, was in a gifted and talented program. And she had been identified and encouraged to be part of that. And it was very, a positive experience for her when we came out here. When we first went to elementary school, I believe they wanted to perhaps start you all over in kindergarten. She was not going to be gifted and talented. It was like these changes. But I think it may have been because of when your birthday fell.
Yeah.
Because they may have had a September cutoff and your birthday was October, whatever, but you'd already finished that. So you went to first grade, you did not go back. And we had to push for her. I was like, wait a minute, hold up. This is Loudoun County, and Loudoun County is not what Loudoun County is today, and Ashburn is not what it was. There was one schoolhouse for Ashburn Elementary School, and all the people
Not exactly an academic hotbed.
Well, it's recognized the way it is now. But we thought, okay, it's an up and coming place, and it will get better, and it has. But I mean, we had to push for that for Courtney, and yes, she was putting in all of you all excelled in school, the schools here, But it just took a minute when we first came here. I was like, oh, wait a minute, we came from Montgomery County, right? Because Montgomery County has always been a very highly respected, for many years, a very highly respected school
way
system.
ahead of Ashburn and Loudoun.
So it was very different. Yeah, it was way ahead, at that time especially. So that was something that has stuck with me, and I have not actually forgotten that. I mean, gotten past it, but I remember it.
Right.
So let me ask you this. If we had the opportunity to do that all over again, and you had a vote in what would happen, what would you vote? What would you change? And that's to both of y'all about the changes that you experienced as children.
Every version of that outcome, I feel like, has been in movies, and it hasn't gone well.
Right.
So I would say just keep it the same. Keep it simple.
Yeah. There are things I wouldn't change anything about moving.
Yeah.
Right. But there are things that happened after that I would change. I'll say that.
Occurrences.
A lot of different a lot of different things that happened afterwards. The complication is, look, like if you could really go back in time, you don't get to change who you were back then.
Yep.
You really are going to be the same person in
Yep.
the same situation.
Yep.
Your thinking would be the same. None of that gets to change. You just hope that on the gamble, you would do something different.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm hoping if we could do it again, certain things I would come to you guys about now,
Yes.
knowing what they were. I
Yeah.
think now to advocate for myself, I don't think I understood what was happening.
Yep. Nor
And a
should you
lot of
have,
those
right?
Yeah, a lot of
Makes sense.
They weren't advocating the way they are today about those things back then. So I didn't have the vocabulary to be able to say, "Oh, wait, I think this is the problem. This is why I'm so depressed."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now I do. But yeah, I think I'm hoping that if I could do it and do it again, I would definitely have come to you guys more often about more things that were confusing. to
So
me.
see, I'm so feeling what you're saying, because when I ask myself that same question, what I would do was, the one thing I would make sure is not assume that because I'm having a good day, you're having a good day.
Right.
Not assume that because everything is going well for me, that it's going well for you. Because see, as an adult, when I moved to this community in this cul-de-sac, I met more people in the first 12 hours of living here than the 5 years in the house that we were living in that we came from. I had more cakes, more pies, more wine brought to the door.
That's so nice.
Than anything I had ever seen. So while that was my experience, the little children in some cases were pulling out knives, pocket knives, and looking at y'all and saying, "Oh, we
Not
got
their
some new
children,
ones."
but other children.
I'm just saying figuratively correct, figuratively. So,
She's like,
so,
no.
so while the community, and even in church, we were embraced, and the church that we went to actually seemed starved for some cultural intervention.
That's just because you could sing.
Right, well, right. We bought
At the
talent,
time.
right? We bought talent, and that was
that
like,
was a big
wait a
part of
minute,
it.
we haven't had this before.
Yeah.
But that wasn't your experience. You didn't get to experience all that. So what that basically meant was people who did not feel loving, embracing to you just hid it from me, and I didn't have the sense enough to know, wait a minute, this doesn't sound right that this is going so well. What am I missing here? What and really drilling down and really looking at y'all and understanding why they behaving like that. Why do they not want to do this? I think I would have been a little more aggressive. And I think as I've grown older, I have unfortunately become more aggressive as you become adults, which basically means I'm minding other people's business, the way that translates. But I think it also means that from my grandkids' perspectives, I'm able to ask them questions and drill down a little more where I didn't even think about drilling down before.
It's like when we just had Fen. We had Fen, and this was maybe like 9 months. And just an example, so it was a lot of adjustments. I mean, we were emotionally, mentally adjusting, sometimes still, but we were really adjusting when his first year. And I remember, I always get down with Marley when she's at bedtime. We always have these deep discussions. Like she's like, at the time she's like 6. It was really funny. But I remember always asking her and checking her, so how you doing? Because it's a lot. I was like, and I will always say to her, I'm like, even though I'm trying to be careful with what I say to you, I was like, but mommy's going through a lot too. It's a big change. I was like, so how are you feeling? And so I think I would try to keep the door open for her, no matter how maybe offended I was.
Yeah.
Which I really wasn't, but I let her express herself and say, mommy, it's great. And then it's just loud and whatever else she would say, and let her have that platform to just do that. Because if I didn't, and I'm just dealing with the newborn phase the whole time, and I'm not giving her a space to vent. Okay, then she's out there, just out there.
Right.
And
She is. There's nothing scary. And what you said is so
Yeah.
priceless, and everybody needs to really embrace that. There is no scarier proposition to me than a 5, 6, 10-year-old analyzing and coming up with the theory and the way to resolve issues on their own.
That's what I'm
Sure,
saying.
sure.
Yeah,
That's some scary stuff
Yeah.
right there.
Guidance. There needs to be guidance there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and just it's kind of sad because they have such a small way to see the world. They don't understand. They're not capable of saying, "Oh, mommy looks stressed." No, they're like, "But what about me?" That's all it is. It's that they're so young. So anyway,
It's just like you. We get out of school early.
Right.
Yeah.
All this other stuff y'all dealing with, like
Yeah.
all I know is I had to go to school
yeah,
on last day.
yeah.
Like,
So
okay.
it
that
was
was the best.
important that I.
Mommy's crying. It's okay. We get out of school early.
Yeah, that's how it is.
Yeah, no, that's for real. Kid
but,
life, for real.
But back to what we were saying, though, but that's, I totally get that. So I try to, anything we do like that, I try to make sure that no matter what we're doing, doesn't mean I'm going to change anything, right?
Sure,
Can't take the baby back, but I always try to make sure that no matter what we change, whatever we go through, I go back to her and I kind of make sure in quiet when no one's around, here's a moment for you to like express yourself, share your heart. Don't be worried about what I'm going to say,
Yeah.
And you've been very good also at carving out time to spend with her. So like during his nap time, for example. Well,
it might not have been I might not have led that charge. I might have been more early.
But but it happens.
I'll just a routine that she's attached to since she was like 2. So that's what happened with that. So it's been a thing.
I was going to say that the one thing that I guess you kind of touched on it when you're talking about how you try to carve out more time, even if you're going through to ask questions. And it's not that my parents didn't ask questions. They did. But especially if I wanted to go to somebody's house, I didn't understand it until I got older. It was like a questionnaire, like whose house, where they live, do they have both parents there, what goes on in
all
their
you
house.
understand is this something is blocking these incredible levels of sensitivity that did not previously exist. So now your mind is kind of blown.
But now that being a parent and being on the other side, because as a parent, if your kid comes back and they look halfway the same as they did when they went to school, you're fine.
Yeah.
You're good.
Yeah.
But you're dealing with yourself at that time.
Yeah.
And looking at my age and where my parents were at that time, if they didn't ask me certain questions that might have helped me at that time, it wasn't because they didn't care.
Yeah.
It's because they were going through whatever they're going through at the same time. And so just from the parent's perspective, don't be hard on yourself if you've skipped over asking or investigating with your kids.
Yeah, so just let me tell you the cigarette smoke story. First time, everything was fine and everything was okay. And the kids want to go to sleepovers. Oh, go ahead. Yeah, they're going. They're making friends, and I'm happy that they're making friends. And one morning, they came home that Sunday morning, and they were loaded with cigarette smoke. I was appalled. I was embarrassed. And embarrassed for me that I didn't check any more than to ask a basic question, do you smoke cigarettes? Honestly, that means that they could have been getting high. I didn't ask that question either. So I'm kind of like, oh my gosh, I got to turn up so much on these guys. And I think at that point, I started, in their view probably, I became a little not so good a parent. Because now I'm like,
invasive.
Dude, you got to ask these questions because there's no everybody that you think is around you is not like you. They don't do what you do. And a lot of houses, they curse, smoke, and sweat, and that's just regular. I'm not judging them. It's just not what I do. And it's not what I want my kids around. And so I need to be asking those questions. And I've realized, don't let your kids, and I'm sorry, I ain't trying to get on those soapbox, but maybe it's too late. I'm not letting my kids go any place that I don't know about the people where they're going.
Oh no, that's
that's everywhere. And I was not like that before. I was passive. I'm like, I'm trying to be with the get along gang. I want the kids to be happy. And I'm watching, and obviously there's something about them that I'm seeing. So I don't know exactly what Kelly's describing, but I can see that they're trying to transition. I want them to have friends. I want all this stuff. Like, nah, you can't come in my house smelling like you just smoked a pack of Camel. That's not happening. And so, no, it changes. And you need to be that parent, and we need to find these places, I think, where there's a trade-off, where I respectfully allow you to grow. I respectfully allow you to merge into this new community, to become this person that's a part of the community, not an outcast, not cast aside. But at the same time, if everybody in the community getting high, we ain't getting high. That's not what we're doing. But having the smarts and the understanding of really doing a better job as parents of understanding, analyzing where we're going and what we're doing before we make these moves, to understand a little bit the impact. How is it going to impact my child? Because there's some jobs, and maybe everybody don't agree with me, some money ain't worth it.
True.
Because I'm not going to lose a child in the process of getting rich. That is not the goal. Yeah. Money to me, at the end of the day, when I'm an old dude sitting on the porch, I'm not going to be thinking about that money. I'm going to be thinking about my child that I tossed away trying to make some money.
Exactly.
Like, nah, can't do it. Can't do it.
Yeah. Wow. that was a lot there. Is there anything else you want to try to cover? Anything else that you want to share? Any advice for people who are thinking about making moves and got the kids? And
I think what we just touched on was the biggest thing was just don't, I mean, it sounds cliche. Like, yeah, you're going to move. Yeah, your kids are adaptable. Oh, they'll make friends. They'll be fine. And because they're bounce back. They're resilient. I hate those, because look at us. All these millennials now, let's normalize blah blah blah. Like, look at us.
And all y'all in therapy. Everybody in therapy.
No, we got
online
books,
therapy,
diaries, we got journaling,
okay,
which is good. But I'm just saying, we messed y'all up so bad.
No. Well, no generation's got it right. Okay, but what I'm saying though is that I just think there are some people though that probably perhaps still think in that same way.
Sure,
they're like, they'll just figure it out. We got to do this.
That's not right.
And it's like,
we got to do better than that.
Just if anything, you got to do what you got to do, right?
Yeah.
Kids can't run and control what you're as a parent, an adult, or they don't know anything, right? Mm-hmm. But at the same time, keep that door open for your kid to come in and allow them to say, I hate it. And then don't say, that's okay, that's normal. Don't do that. I'd say, be like, you know what? I'm struggling too. And level with them so they don't think they're completely isolated in their feelings. Yeah. And then don't come back to you. Because they're like, well, you're no good. As an adult, I've adult people I talk to like that are just terrible.
There's no worse feeling on the planet, no matter how old you are, than the feeling that you get when you know you're not heard.
Yeah.
That is one of the most heartbreaking. So you got to.
And I say that it matters, I think, to our generation even more because we are so intensely distracted because of everything. We're so much more distracted than I think y'all's generation was. And we can get caught up in doing this while they're talking to us, or just, I know I've been guilty of it. My brain will be buzzing with all these things I have to do, with my work, whatever, while they're talking to me. And so you have to find a way to like shut it all down. Sometimes I leave my phone outside of the rooms. I don't even take it in. Yeah. So they just know. And I have better discipline when I do that. And then they know that you are completely checked in. And then you allow them to have those conversations. Don't be so offended. You're an adult. You can handle it.
Exactly.
And let them speak their mind. And then and then level with them. But then you have to be the parent at the end of the conversation.
You reminded me of one of the funniest conversations I ever had with you. You were in college, I think. College or maybe high school. And I said something and you said something one day and I looked at you and said, Kelly, I am not this good. I'm not this right. You have got to stop agreeing with me on everything. I said, I need you to respect me, but I need you to start telling me what you really think. Because my vibe right now is you're saying stuff that I'm not sure you're all the way in. I'm not that good. And I think you started finding ways to better tell me stuff and disagree with me because you were always that kid that you were not a disruptor. You were kind of a compliant. You were a very compliant person. But as you were walking into adulthood, I didn't want you to be compliant to the point that everything was okay with people. And I felt like it needed to start with me. Because if everything wasn't okay with me, you would certainly not make everything okay with everybody else. And I remember saying that. And that's exactly what you're saying, is you got to get them to a place where they can disagree and voice their opinion respectly. Because I ain't going to have you talking to me like that.
You can't just say whatever. But
Chauncey the chump.
You can't say anything however you want to.
But I need you to say what, I need to find out what's in your heart, and I need you to be able to say it.
Yeah, and I think it's important to start that really when they're really little.
No joke.
Because then you have just a rapport. You have a way, you just know, and she knows she can just come into this safe place, even when it's about me, not her feelings. She'd be like, and she'd be getting into the bed, she'd be like, well, it's about you. I was like, okay. Okay.
Here we go.
I was like, well, babe, you know what? It's okay. Let's have it. Let's go. What did mommy do today? I'm so sorry. What did I do? I already apologizing. And she'll say whatever it was. And I'm like, okay. And I'll apologize first because I would tell her with everything in my heart. I did not mean for it to sound or I didn't mean to do whatever. I was like, however, the reason why I did that
bring it on
was
back.
because I said 5 times before I had to say that.
Bring it on back.
And so I just need you
it's
to
not
me,
go on. It's you.
Well, but I say that to her to make sure she understands and out of the most loving place in my body that I don't ever want to hurt her.
Lots of times we
just have to do it that way.
Yeah, lots of times we emote when we talk, and the emotion overwhelms the message.
Oh, yeah.
When the message was right.
But that's the best time when we do it because we're not emotionally affected.
Correct.
We just want to be cozy.
That's a good point.
That's it. Right. And so it's the best time.
And I think right now, that as time continues to move on, that people learn how to become a little more open in communication. I'm hopeful of that anyway.
Yeah.
Because I think that, when your dad and I were raising you guys, we were like grinding for work and trying to find the best place to live and trying to find a good school and trying to find, those kinds of things. And now I think people are, and it's to their credit to be more open in conversations and to not just have the door open, but to invite them in to have conversations.
Yep.
And I think that you all do a good job of that. I think it's also good that people are not afraid to say, if I need help or, whatever issues they may be dealing with, that they're maybe less afraid, or there's a way for them to come out and express that. So that can help make a healthier family. So anyway. So I think we're going to wrap this up. I want to thank you both for being here and doing this with us. And I think that you share a lot that other people can learn from, other young people who are looking to move, or people who move.
No joke, because this is a reoccurring story, man. There's so many people doing it.
And because there are lots of people moving around and all that. But before we move along, I just want to do a quick promo. Because you both are so talented, and a lot of people who listen to us might know that you do what you do, but others may not. So with Kelly, you're doing music and art, correct? Yes, music and art. And David, who all of y'all know, he has been producing our podcast. In fact, I keep crediting him with coming with the idea for us to have one. So he does that, but he also is a gifted producer and musician.
That boy's good.
Yeah, he is. He does a lot, and they're very. They put out in social media and everything, so you can find one on socials. But I just want to give them some credit because I love what they do, and
Sounds so beautiful.
I think the whole world should love what they do. But check out Kelly at Kelly Lotta Hall, and David has a new release called Down.
Feeling down.
At Velvet. You can find that on Velvet Box Studio.
Yeah.
I got it right?
Yep.
I'm going to call it red velvet, like red velvet cake. But it's Velvet Box, not red.
velvet?
Yeah.
What is
velvet?
this?
Yes. So anyway, please take a look at those sites and give them a like as well. So thank you all for listening today. We'll be back with more experiences.
We got plenty more on this. We'll look at some of the people that we know who are living their best lives and ask these same kind of questions and try to understand this wonderful life and just get us all on that same road.
Yeah. Some people in different situations. So this is a great start, and we'll have some other ones that should be really interesting for everybody to listen to. So
To all my children, I'm sorry. To my grandchildren, go tell your parents thank you. It's their sacrifices that have gotten us where we are.
That's hilarious.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Y'all be good.
Yep.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Officially Finna thanks you for joining us.
Please subscribe and hit that like button.